Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our WebEx session. I am Kama Makai from the channel team, and on today I will moderate our events. On today, the WebEx session topic is beyond the AI, hype discover real AI machine learning use case in DX02. Our special guest and the presenter is Sheenam Gupta, engineer program lead from Broadcom. She will guide you on today. In the next 60 minutes on the presentation level, Sheenam will share you the details of the planned topic. The event, as always, will be recorded, and later we will share the recording with you. If you have any question, then please use the chat window. By default, you are muted. And Sheenam, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Kalman. Let me bring up my screen. All right. I hope my presentation is visible.
Yes, we see.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this exciting topic about DX operational observability and what are we seeing as questions or areas of interest from our customers, especially in the area of AIML and the evolution into agentic AI that we are, observing, watching these days. I'm Sheenam Gupta. I'm from the product management team of DX Operational Observability, and I focus on the outbound strategy and adoption of the product by our customers. And today, before I get started, because I will be talking a little bit about the roadmap elements in the DX02 vision and roadmap as well. I have to cover the safe harbor statement. A lot of these items, the backlog and the roadmap is very carefully planned, but there could be situations in which cases some of those might change in terms of timelines, and that requires us to cover the safe harbor. On agenda today, I will be focusing on the DX operational observability, a very brief refresher. I understand there have been 2 sessions that have been done in the recent past by Andres Reyes, the head of product management for DX operational observability, and also one of the solution engineers talking more about the use cases in general. And so this will be a quick refresher just to rejig all of your memories of what is DX operational observability. We'll look at the market trends and how does that relate to the full stack observability. What are the top use cases that we are seeing in the market, and also what we cater to, and along those lines, what's new in the product and what will be coming in. So DX operational observability started with our vision to unify AI ops and observability. I would say now 2.5 years back, and we started this journey with bringing together the application diagnostics, the infrastructure monitoring, and the intelligence platform together into a single product. And so this product started essentially with providing end-to-end observability and monitoring for customer environments that would have modern technologies as well as the traditional or the legacy technologies in their ecosystems, and they needed a balance, right? So this product provides a great breadth in terms of the coverage of the different technologies ranging from end users. You're seeing here the web mobile APIs, IoTs, etc., to application, to infrastructure, and further down into the network and other areas that could be present in an environment like mainframe. It also provides the depth in all of these areas, focusing on the ease of use, faster time to value, and very importantly, correlating the monitored entities, the data that comes from all these different pillars into an end-to-end view for different personas. Very recently, we added the agentic AI monitoring support in the SaaS version. It is coming out in the on-prem version as well pretty soon, towards later part of this year. But we introduced open telemetry in this product in the on-prem version earlier, in the 26.1 version that was released in January this year. And through that release, through that open telemetry support, we are seeing our field team achieving or showcasing the art of possible to some of our customers, focusing at open telemetry and the related areas, and I will touch on that. But the focus there for us has been to make sure that we address the token economy and the advanced tracing for prompt accuracy analysis. The rest of the areas, I won't be going in details unless and until there is a question or a particular area of interest here. Like I said, we did provide this introduction to the Impicom group and their partners in the session by Andreas, and um, I will look to any questions if there are. The key point that I would like to call out is what DXO2 did for in its journey was embedding the intelligence platform, which means if you have a customer who's looking at only, let's say, application diagnostics, they would still have use cases where they would want to focus on um, alarm correlations or noise reductions, or now with agentic AI coming in, the ability to see the traces of an application that is using Gen AI or agentic AI. And therefore, with focus on those use cases, the intelligence platform, unlike some of the other vendors, does not come as an optional element. It does not come as a marketplace element. It comes embedded with each of these monitoring and observability pillars, giving the users the benefit of leveraging the intelligence, the insights, and embedding it into the automated workflows across their observability layers. So, what are some of the key trends that we have been looking at in the market? What is the impact of agentic AI on IT strategy and operations? The three key areas that we are hearing very often from our customers, and I'm open to validate this with all of you. If you guys see this in your customers, just raise a hand, do a +1. That will give me a good idea. But essentially, the first trend that we are seeing is increasing DevOps budgets, but at the same time, shrinking IT teams. So these budgets that are increasing are really increasing to introduce infrastructure and teams skills for agentic AI projects. And it's interesting to see that a lot of enterprises are creating these budgets by focusing on shrinking the traditional IT teams. And an outcome of this trend is a lot of point observability vendors coming into the market, introducing beta versions, quote unquote, of agentic AI monitoring. And very importantly, something that we have heard from our customers is these vendors dropping the key table stakes features that are the foundational elements for monitoring and observability. They're being dropped in the haste of introducing the beta versions for agentic AI monitoring. The second key trend that we have noticed is increasing focus on on-prem solutions, right? And this is a very interesting one because when we started with DX operational observability, we made it a point that yes, while we will focus on being very, very agile in releasing the product enhancements over our SaaS platform, we will also make sure that we keep our on-prem version not just supported, but also stay close to the version that's out there in SaaS. And therefore, we have been consistently performing releasing two major on-prem releases in a year. One typically comes in the beginning of the year, and one is usually towards the third quarter, end of third quarter, early fourth quarter. But the idea of releasing these major on-prem releases twice a year is to make sure that our on-premise customers don't have to wait for a long time to get parity with the SaaS counterparts. We also focus at the same time releasing hot fixes or service packs if required, if there is a major set of functionality that is being released and that we believe will be more beneficial for our on-prem customers. So as an example, this year as well, we released DX Operational Observability 26.1 in January, like I said earlier, and we will be releasing a hotfix on top of it in June because there are some key functionalities and enhancements that we believe will be more useful for our on-premise customers. And then we'll have another major release later this year. But the increasing focus on on-premise solutions is interesting because when users talk about agentic AI architectures, the focus on security is almost discussed in the same breath. And that means that these enterprises, these state customers, the government customers, the partners, they're looking at not only owning their data, which used to be the case earlier for the on-prem recognition, they're also focusing and trying to make sure that they own their models as well, right? And so a lot of the customers, a lot of the enterprises are reconsidering their cloud strategies, and they're moving towards either, completely on-premise or hybrid deployment models. I know in the territory that we see with Embicom, we often talk about on-premise, so this should not be a big surprise for a lot of you, but this is something big that is becoming a universal trend now. And then lastly, the focus on MTTR and digital experience KPIs. If you ask me, this focus never went away, but I think in a short span of time, in the last 2 or 3 years, people started talking more about other KPIs, assuming that we have solved the MTTR and digital experience problem, while in fact, in the reality, we haven't. A lot of enterprises haven't. And so they're sort of going back to the basics to make sure that their MTTR and digital experience monitoring, meaning knowing how my application is performing for my end users, that area is gaining more focus, because as these teams focus on introducing agentic AI models, they have to make sure that those changes, the new way of working that they're trying to introduce, is delivering the real value and is not driving their users away. So, in parallel to these trends, we're also seeing evolving agentic AI and tech stack every day, right? This is a very high level abstract visualization of the different layers. And believe me, as we, internally, as we discuss our roadmaps, as we discuss our future use cases, our vision, there's always one or the other additional layer detail in between each of these layers. I'm trying to give here a very abstract view of the different layers that we see in a typical agentic AI tech stack. Some of these layers have been known to us. For example, the infrastructure layer, the data layer. Yes, it has become more complex with vector databases and RAGs coming into the picture, but the data layer more or less has been around. LLM layer and orchestration layer is where a lot of the agentic AI specific advancement is happening, right? And then the interface or the application layer is a layer which we have known for years. So basically, when we see the agentic AI workloads and when we see these layers, we instantly know that our vision for DX operational observability aligns very well with agentic AI workloads and the tech stack as well. We didn't have it, it almost came naturally as a natural advancement for DXO2 for us to consider these layers in the middle, and the fact that these are mostly moving towards there's consolidation happening when we talk about observability for these layers, consolidation towards open LLMetry and open-lit frameworks. We know that we are ready for this advancement in our framework, right? We already had the way to support the different types of data ingestions. We already had a data lake that would understand the various data sources and the data types in its native format. And we already had a way to stitch the interlayer correlations to provide to our users a easy way of identifying where could a problem be. The additional complexity around cost tracking and prompt management and the workflow engine, the context is what we are swiftly building into the product. So don't go by these technologies. These are just some examples that I wanted to throw out. I know these could be very many different versions, and the idea for a product like DxO2 is to make sure that we either support all those different vendors natively, or we provide an open framework for our customers, our partners to leverage and use it to add or plug the gaps that they could be in the native footprint as of today. So if we map these two things that I spoke about, the trend and the evolving layers, the evolving tech stack, where do we see the enterprise readiness, right? If we are taking a inside out look, um, we are trying to see in the evolution journey from traditional AI to agentic AI. And I'm sure this journey is continuing. I'm sure probably if we do the same session 6 months down the line, I'll probably have another version of an evolved version of agentic AI, or something that is totally in the works right now of including human intervention within agentic AI to make it more aligned with an enterprise. And I'm just making it up, but basically, largely, if we look at broad strokes, the evolution of AI in the last 4 years, starting from 2023, has really been moving from the traditional AI use cases, which we used to call AI ops in the market standard terminology. We have seen those evolve further to add generative AI, or Gen AI as we call it, which started with the content creator using prompts and training on existing data sets. This was basically being seen as a very important use case that would be augmenting traditional AI in its capability of summarizing the large data sets, the exploration and the analysis that was done in traditional. Gen AI was being looked at summarizing that, making it simple. We often talk about the learning curves for different personas in an IT operations environment, and Gen AI was being looked at, you know, um, helping these different personas address the learning curves by giving the users the summary of a problem, giving them a summary of everything that was seen for a problem in different areas of the landscape in a single summary, right? Things like those. And also augmenting that with contextual content linking. There was a very interesting area of translation or internationalization in some cases as well that was being looked at for Gen AI. And I would say the way from Gen AI to agentic AI was very fast, right? When we started seeing the LLM models, which were initially being used for simple use cases like summarizations, we noticed those LLM models becoming more powerful, becoming more smart, more autonomous, and they actually started collaborating amongst each other just like humans would do. right? That was the evolution of agentic AI, where these models became smart enough to take decisions with or without human intervention. They started adapting their analysis, reasoning amongst themselves or within oneself, their own, and executing those using the context that they have, right? And sometimes this is where the challenge is, what we're seeing, that this context could be fact-based. This could also be fabricated, which is labeled as the influence of agentic AI agent, its own influence, its own thinking, which may not be true, and then they create facts to make it look true. Right? But yeah, we'll talk about the challenges a little later. But essentially, this is how the evolution has been. This is how the use cases have evolved. But if we look at the demand versus the readiness, the center two columns, the demand has always been high. So in my experience in the outbound product management role, whenever I talk to a new customer, a new partner, an existing customer, I always get this question: what are you doing in this area? Do you have support for these use cases? But the demand does not directly correlate with the readiness. If we look at the traditional AI, why I don't have a vertical arrow, the readiness lags from the organizational structures. A lot of the medium and large, even sometimes I've seen in the small enterprises, there's still a lot of silos between different operation teams. There's still a lot of outsourcing to different vendors. And so when somebody talks about traditional AI use cases, like bringing the data from different sources together for analysis, pattern detection, recommendation, and automation, there is often an organizational structure challenge where teams see that as a threat to their autonomy. The teams are not very interested always to bring things together. Of course, this scenario has evolved in the last 5 years, and that's why it's only a slight movement from the 90-degree upward. But more or less, the customers are ready, and more or less, the customers are adopting these use cases in production. We have a couple of success stories which are anonymous at the moment, but we have a couple of success stories where our customers are using DXO2 for the data analysis, machine learning driven data analysis, for the correlation and noise reduction, and ultimately going to recommendation. I'll talk about those. If we move into the Gen AI, I've marked here the readiness to be medium. Yes, it gets asked for. Yes, our customers are opening up to it, but there's a need to um, pass the security and compliance requirements. And while the product is ready to pass those requirements, the teams on the enterprises sides are very, very conservative. At the moment, they're being very cautious, and that is what delays the readiness a little bit on their end. However, we are noticing this improve. We are noticing a best practice, a standard coming up in the market where customers are able to say, if if you have a check in for this list of items, we are good to go ahead with you, right? So I'm assuming this to go to vertical up by end of this year or early next year. And then comes the elephant in the room, the agentic AI, where the demand is very, very high. Almost every customer, almost every webinar that I attend, the first question is, do you have support for this? Is this on your roadmap? But when it comes to adoption, there's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of unknown, the fear of unknown, and this one comes with legal consent as well, where both the parties have to legally agree to move ahead and start using agentic AI. I believe it will improve over months, as we saw the increasing budget allocations and the pressure on the teams to start adopting agentic AI. But as of now, for us, or our observation is the readiness is really low. However, the demand is still high, right? And so this is playing a big role in our roadmap, in the way that as these arrows shift, as both these arrows shift upwards, we want to be ready for these customers when they will be ready to ultimately move forward in their environment. We are also focusing on the practicality of the use cases, because we have seen these kind of hypes in the past, right? We all have seen these kind of hypes with the cloud. We saw this with the AI ops, when everything was expected to be magically, provided as an insight. And now we're seeing it here, where again magic is being expected, and in some cases also being sold by some of the vendors. But our focus is on the practical use cases for our customers, and that's what we are making sure we build, um, you know, in an accelerated fashion. So as these arrows move upward in the readiness, our product is ready for these customers. So I'll start with the traditional AI use cases that were called AI ops use cases, are still called AI ops use cases by the analysts, and we have Gen AI merged into this. And then we will look into what are we doing with agentic AI in this tool. Um, this slide talks about the AI ops use cases, and the four primary buckets that you're seeing here are the data intelligence, which also ties with the correlation, with the automatic normalization and the enrichment. This sort of creates a foundation for all the other use cases, and also the exploration and going deep into any issue that is being triaged, right? So data intelligence is always a hidden layer in a product, in an AI ops products. Same for us, but underneath is a lot of rich functionality where the analysis, the correlation, the normalization goes in, and also the pattern detection and the anomaly detections are happening. The next broad bucket is the root cause analysis, um, an area, a use case that everybody fancies, that everybody wants to have. But the truth is, every environment is so different that we often add probable root cause analysis to be realistic there. And that's what DXO2 focuses at making sure that we help the teams identify the problems fast and with a high accuracy, also augmenting it with the right level of details that different teams would need for addressing their domain specific problems, right? So this is an area that has been the most important area, along with automation, in the AI ops market for the longest time, in my opinion. And yet this is still evolving. This is still one of the areas where we have our strength, providing the 360-degree view across the different monitoring data. So our root cause analysis does not stop at alarms. It goes into the transaction traces, it goes into the logs, the events, the topology, the metrics, right? So this is really an evolved space for us, and an area that a couple of our customers are, really appreciating and using it in production to reduce the number of tickets, to reduce the number of alarms, and very importantly, sending the right alarms to the right teams with the required information. And this bucket, when paired with automation, is a very powerful use case, because we are now talking about using these correlated um, monitoring information for automated workflows, for ticketing, for notifications, and also triggering any automation scripts, or the automation tools themselves, thereby reducing the amount of effort that traditional teams would spend in war rooms. It also helps these teams collaborate better, addressing the silos. So it's often said, we often see this in our executive briefings, ending the silos is not the real vision or the problem that teams have, that the executives have. It's the managing the silos, seeing across the silos, having the teams collaborate well with each other, having a strong governance within their monitoring or IT operations teams is really the need. And with a tool like DXO2, that opens up, that makes it very easy for everybody to get access to the right data while maintaining the role-based access control, while controlling the privileges and auditing and logging everything. This becomes a very powerful platform to help the teams bridge their silos and work, closer with each other, shortening the war rooms and identifying the issues proactively. And then speaking of proactive, predictive insights, we have focused on seasonality models where we try to predict the issues before they start impacting the services. These services could be business services, these could be application services or IT services, but the idea is to use the metrics information. I'm calling out metrics deliberately. The idea is to use the metrics information for analyzing the historical trends, identifying the seasonality in them, and forecasting that when will a metric become a issue for in an environment. And these forecasts happen for the next 8 hours for anomaly detection, for the next 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, for capacity predictions, right? So that's predictive insights baked into the product. And these are the broad four categories that we have in the traditional AI and Gen AI or AI ops areas. Now, how is this evolving with agentic AI? We want to make sure that, like I said earlier, that this platform is future proof. It's ready for the enterprises when they're ready to start using agentic AI in their production environments. And therefore, our focus is on two areas. On the left, you're seeing fueling the platform. That means using the Gen AI and agentic AI within the workflows, right? So some of the areas which have been marked with asterisks, these are either partially available or a future roadmap item. Therefore, I've marked them as roadmap. But if I look into the left column first, which is using Gen AI and agentic AI within DXO2 to help the operational workflows. um, I will be giving a sneak peek into all of these areas, time permitting. I'm trying to maintain time here, but there has been an immense focus on the automatic probable root cause analysis. When we have all the data coming from the different sources, we want to make sure we use it to provide automatic probable root cause analysis. That was the introduction of Triage Inspector um, last year. And along with that, we integrated with Google Gemini in the beginning in our platform as a native integration. And we were quickly asked by a lot of our customers, can I bring my own LLM model if I'm not approved to use Gemini? And so we launched this. So all of this is available with 26.1 release, the on-prem release. And there's also a runbook driven recommendations with this root cause analysis, which allows the enterprises to bring their runbooks, to bring their standard operating procedures into the product framework and use this for the recommendations in alignment with the root cause analysis. The next immediate item that we are looking at in this along the same line is the prompt-based workflows. We know the way the IT teams do monitoring, the way they are looking at identifying the issues is evolving. They, while the teams still use the traditional ways of going to dashboards, going to notifications, going to the different views that they would have created for themselves for their roles, the teams are also looking at a conversational way to get these inputs before they dig into any particular domain expert tool. And so we are focusing on the prompt-based workflows for dashboards and for contextual help. So some of these areas which I'm talking about are already out. For example, contextual help is already out. Service creation, SLI definition is partially out. We are still improving it. Dashboards is in the labs, and we're looking for strategic partners, and same for the chat agent. Um, Along the same lines, guided deployment, we have a lot of our functionality exposed or available through public APIs. And so the focus here is, can we help, can we use those APIs for guided deployment and then also help our customers monitoring the blind spots and provide some configuration recommendations. Again, these areas are where we have been exploring, and there we have some features out, but these are areas where we are still investing and adding more enhancements. Coming to the extending observability, this is the area where we get the most questions. What are you doing in making sure that I can monitor my GenAI and agentic AI stack? And the two areas where we started with was the cost, the token economy, like I mentioned earlier, and tracking the number of agents running, and also the performance, because wherever there are multiple layers in a stack involved, identifying the real issue is always a challenge, and that has been a strength in DXO2 traditionally. And so that's where we're also investing in performance in this evolving agentic AI stack to make sure that we not only provide the eyes and ears in every layer, but we also provide the correlation between those layers, which I was showing earlier. Okay. So in the next few slides, I will showcase more details in all of these areas that I mentioned are available in the product. I'll go a little fast because we have shown most of this functionality in our office hours. I don't have a slide to promote the office hours today, but I would strongly promote it with this group. If you don't get the office hours invites, please let us know either directly or through your marketing team. Um, Please leverage those office hours. If the times of those office hours don't work for you, we do post the recorded versions of those in our IMS events website, on our IMS events website, and that should give you a good way. um, I know a lot of customers who look at those videos at 1.5x, and when they find something interesting, they can of course go deeper. And just saying, I know that's what the learning and enablement has become, and that's good actually, because you can really pick what's going on, what's recent, and the areas where you have more interest or queries. You can go deeper into it. You can reach out to um, the product management team. I know some of us are connected with the folks that I'm seeing today directly, or you can reach out through your marketing team. But let's keep the channels open. So in the next few slides, I'm going to showcase the areas that are available in the product, and then we'll look at the very high level roadmap view. Um, so the first one that I have here is triage inspector. We have this is our automatic probable root cause analysis. This went GA last year, early last year, and since then a lot of enhancements have come out in this, and we are working on the last leg of enhancement to help the customers connect the recommendation models into the automation tools. But essentially, what this does is it goes beyond the alarms in the root cause analysis. Like I was saying earlier, it brings the related topology, events, metrics, logs, if there are logs in the system, the change events and transaction traces into the view. And I have some small screenshots here. We do demos of these. We have some recorded videos of this functionality on our IMS events and in our blogs. So please check those out. And if you would like to know more about these, please reach out for more detailed sessions. But essentially here, what you're seeing in these small screenshots is the fact that we have the alarms, the suspect alarm and the related alarms here. We have the metrics. In the metrics, we also show the related metrics and the service metrics if they are impacted, and the related metrics to outlier detection for the users to identify the unknown unknowns, right? So often in the customer environments, there are thresholds, there are static baselines defined on performance metrics, and often those are not enough. They either they are not well adjusted or they don't trigger at the time of the actual issue because of multiple reasons. That's the lack of governance, as we call it, and therefore this functionality comes in very helpful, pulling in those related metrics. uh, doesn't matter if they alerted or not, right? Similarly for logs, for mostly for the network and the application subject matter experts, logs gives the additional detail which is not captured in metrics or traces. And so showing logs in context helps these teams immensely in knowing what actually went wrong and helping them send to the right team. I have here a highlighted view of the triage inspector. The focus here is on recommended steps. This recommendation has been garnering a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback from our customers, where they're validating, they're telling us that yes, these steps cover a lot of ground. These are not hard coded, as you can clearly see them. These are specific to the problem that triage inspector is identifying. And the beautiful part is this is where if we get a customer to embed their runbook, to bring in their runbook in the DXO2 framework, it basically uses that runbook information and brings it into the recommended steps, right? So two step, we are talking about getting the recommendations using Gen AI. We are also talking about influencing these recommendations using the enterprise's own runbook, and this is very powerful. This is actually a screenshot from one of our customers that we have modified a little bit um, for the data integrity purposes, but this was the first run book that they tried with us, and it worked perfectly. So this capability is now available to all our customers, along with the ability for them to bring their own LLM model. I have it later in the section. The second area which went GA very recently in SaaS, and this will be available in the next on-prem version, is the contextual help using Gen AI, right? Um, this is see it as an assistant, AI assistant for the users, for different personas that would use DXO2. They have now the ability to simply look up what they want to achieve. They can, this is sort of conversational, where they can say, I want to create a service, show me the steps, and it pulls up the service analytics document for them to show them the steps, right? So this is a contextual help using Gen AI that went GA, and this every feature that I'm showing here that uses Gen AI, so contextual help, the recommendations, not the triage inspector, but the recommendations, the summarization. We also have historical analysis on these alarms. All of these that use Gen AI, they need a legal consent from the customers. So if any of you um, are going to look up these features in your respective SaaS tenants, I know we have given SaaS tenants some of the MBCOM users and their partners as well. So if you look up these features in your SaaS tenants, there are high chances you will not find them because the Gen AI features need customer consent and they need to be enabled. And so if you would like to explore these, please create a ticket or please work with your assigned SE. I think mostly for this group, it would be mostly Jorg, Martin, or Duane. You can ask them to help you to get those capabilities enabled in your tenants so you can play with them. This is the agentic AI dashboard that I was talking about. This is a upcoming feature. If you have related use cases, let us know. But essentially, the idea here is to give the users an easy way to paint a dashboard for the insight that they are looking for. So they don't have to painstakingly go into Grafana into our dashboards. We package Grafana in this product. So we want to make it easy for them to, simply say what they want to, what are they looking for. I want to know the status of this application and show me these details. That's all they should be able to say, and it should paint the dashboard for them. So we have some early versions of this functionality that we are validating with our customers. And if you would have a customer, or if you would have any use cases, please feel free to reach out. This is to bring your own LLM model. This was released, interestingly, this was released first in on-prem, and now this is available for SaaS as well. But the idea here is that customers should be able to use their own framework. We often see that customers don't have their enterprise legal approvals for Google Gemini models, but they have it for AWS Bedrock, for example. So they can bring in AWS Bedrock using this setting and then use their LLM models in the use cases where I was showing our LLM model usage. LLM monitoring using OpenLLMetry. So like I mentioned, we have had OpenTelemetry out in production, GA'd for quite some time now. OpenTelemetry is one big area where we are investing heavily. We have also partnered in a couple of CNCF events. I think MBCom has also participated in the events that were conducted in India and um, last year, I think. So LLM monitoring is one of the key areas. We started with exploring the OpenLLMetry, and you're seeing a dashboard. This is a real dashboard from the demo environment. Not a very beautiful dashboard, but I just wanted to give you a view into what is possible in the product already today. The cost governance and token economics is the first most important use case that we hear from most of the executives. And we recently saw the shock. I think everybody in the market saw that shock with with an enterprise being slapped with a huge invoice because because they were under the impression they have unlimited tokens, right? So token usage, where is it being used? What are the prompts that where it is being used? What's the performance of these models? What's the cost associated to it? How many of those models or agents are running in my ecosystem? Those are the kind of questions that everybody starts with, and those are the answers that they can get with OpenLLMetry in the product. And very soon we are going to introduce the other model support as well. The transaction tracing is a unique area that comes out of the box in our product because of our depth in application diagnostics and end user monitoring. So transaction tracing came in almost naturally without needing any enhancement on our platform. You're seeing some examples here where we provide the traces showing the exact prompts, and we are using this further to develop the quality KPIs, the prompt analysis features. So this is a very high level roadmap. My colleague Ashish Agarwal, he leads this area along with John Sullivan, and so I'm envisioning this to be one of the deeper dive webinars based on the interest we get from this group. We can certainly have we have in our team the three product leads, John Sullivan, Corey Cohen, and Ashish Agarwal, and we can come in to talk more and do more demos. But at a high level, if I talk about the roadmap, you're seeing what has been delivered. We have already delivered the GenAI workload visibility for Spring AI framework. And I know we are on the lookout for identifying other frameworks that the customers are looking at using more, because now that we have one framework cracked, I'm sure it's there's a standard and we can bring in other frameworks. The other thing that's in progress is OpenLit integration. I spoke about OpenLLMetry in the previous slide, and like I said, the OpenLit and OpenLLMetry are the two key monitoring frameworks that are emerging as we see the consolidation in this space. And so this one is coming out pretty soon. The OpenLit integration and certification for the different layers like VectorDB, ChromaDB, the orchestration and the models. All of this is slated to come out in SaaS by the end of this month, early next month, and in on-premise sometime later. I don't have exact timelines, but it would be within this year. And so I'm pretty excited. Personally, I'm very excited about this progress that we are making, because this makes a major dent in the full stack that I was talking about earlier. And this opens up the art of possible space for us. And then in the plan, you're seeing more certifications. You're seeing more out of the box. But I believe a lot of the work that's coming out pretty soon, this is really the foundation. And this is really where, while other vendors are talking about beta versions, we are bringing out a productized version. Of course, it'll be open to feedback. Of course, we'll find additional enhancements and improvements, right? No software is perfect on day one, but this really marks a very important milestone for us. And we're excited to talk more about this if there's interest in this group. So looking at the clock, I do want to leave time for Q&A. This is a quick recap of the high-level architecture. I'm not going to go through it, but I'm going to open up for questions if there are any.
And meanwhile, the questions arrive. We have a surprise guest. Carlos Araz, Business Unit Manager, is here with us. And Carlos, if you would like to give any additional comment, then the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kalman. Thank you, Chita, for the session. No, look, I think it was a great session. I would love to see some demos, on the AI capabilities that you just presented. That I'm sure will be super interesting for the audience. But we have our pre-sales team that can drive any ad hoc session or any presentations for any of you if needed, in all the functionalities, capabilities, and all this story that has been presented today, on the DXO, that is our observability platform. So that's all. I don't know if there is any question, Kalman, from the audience.
No question, Kim. Mike, please, yes.
Yes, we have 4 minutes. Maybe we can wait a couple of minutes to receive some questions.
And additional information that I shared, the office hours link. If you open the chat window, you will see the link to the engage.broadcom.com/IMS events, and there you can register to the office hours, which was mentioned by Sheena.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheena.
So looks like we haven't received the question so far, Shinam. So thank you so much for such amazing and great presentation today. And thank you all for joining us today. Before you leave, we kindly ask you to complete the short survey. And this session is recorded and it will be shared with you all. Also, it will be available on our YouTube channel. If you would like to explore further or schedule a demo, please reach us at info@mbcom.com. We truly appreciate your time and we look forward to welcome you in our future session. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.